10 most unusual and unbelievable farms in the world. Number 10. The Black Ivory Coffee Elephant Dung Farm. Some of the world's most expensive coffee is harvested from elephant dung. Yes, this sounds strange, but it's not unheard of. Civet cats have been used to process coffee beans in Indonesia. The resulting luwak coffee was very popular a decade ago. However, allegations of force feeding and theories that connected civets to the SARS outbreak slowed this fad. Black Ivory coffee in Thailand's rural Surin province uses the same internal processing idea with elephants. The elephants are not fed coffee beans directly. They eat a more natural mixture of bananas, rice, and coffee fruit. The beans go through a fermentation process in the pachyderm's stomachs, and they are separated from the pulp that surrounds them. The elephants do not digest the beans. They are passed out with the dung. The fermentation process supposedly helps the coffee's flavor. It takes about 15 to 30 hours for the elephant to digest the beans, and later they are plucked from their dung and washed and roasted. And it takes 33 kilograms of raw coffee cherries to produce 1 kilogram of black ivory coffee. At 1,100 per kilogram or 500 per pound, the cost per serving of the elephant coffee equals about $50, making the exotic new brew the world's priciest. Number 9. Bear Bile Farming. Commercial bear bile farming began in China in the 1980s. It is a cruel farming system designed to extract bile from the gallbladders of living bears. Previous to this, bears were hunted in the wild for their gallbladder bile, which is used in traditional Chinese medicine. By the early 1990s, there were over 400 bear farms in China alone, containing tens of thousands of suffering bears. Most farmed bears are kept permanently in cages, sometimes so small that they are unable to turn around or stand on all fours. Some bears are caged as cubs and never released, with many kept caged up for up to 30 years. Most farmed bears are starved and dehydrated and suffer from multiple diseases and malignant tumors that ultimately kill them. On bile farms, bears are seen as mere production units, only worth the amount of bile they produce. Those who fail to produce bile simply left to starve to death in their cages. Bear's bile is extracted using various invasive techniques, all of which cause severe suffering, pain, and infection. The method claimed to be the most humane by bile farmers is free drip method, where bears undergo surgery to create a permanent open passage from their gallbladder through their abdomen. The surgery is crude, unhygienic, and rarely performed by a veterinarian. These results in many of the bears dying from infections or other complications, and agony for those who do survive. As the body naturally tries to heal itself, each bile tapping session then involves forcing a metal tube through the wound and scar tissue to reach the bile stored in the bear's gallbladders. Other methods include the permanent surgical implementation of a metal or latex catheter, which drains the bile straight from the bear's abdomens. Some bears are even fitted with metal jackets. Reminiscent of the medieval-style torture device, it is designed to keep bile-draining catheters in place. Heavy and typically rusting, they restrain bears' movement using sharp spikes and strips of metal. Despite the availability of inexpensive and effective herbal and synthetic alternatives, and the public health warnings of the dangers of consuming bile from sick bears, bile farming continues. Number 8. Leech Farms. In the British city of Swansea is a rather unusual farm which produces leeches. Despite the high developmental level of modern medicine, the use of leeches for healing purposes still holds an actual place in it. Relevance level can be easily estimated according to the annual income of the farm, which is about £1 million. Customers of the Swansea farm are health centers and hospitals from different European countries. Each year, the farm supplies about 60,000 leeches. Leech Biofarm does not look like an ordinary farm. This is a more modern, bright, and absolutely sterile laboratory. A few years ago, the Bile farm expanded its work area considerably and now supplies leeches not only to usual hospitals, but also to veterinary clinics. Hydrotherapy or leech therapy is gaining popularity in cosmetology, so the Swansea farm simply has wide prospects for development. Number 7. Mosquito Farms. Mosquitoes are one of the world's most hated pests. Not only can they ruin otherwise perfectly comfortable summer evenings, they can also transmit deadly diseases. So why would anyone want to establish a mosquito farm? Through a series of trials, scientists have discovered that releasing genetically modified mosquitoes into certain areas significantly lowers the population of disease-carrying mosquitoes. For example, one such project involves injecting a special bacteria into captive-bred male mosquitoes. The males are then released and pass the bacteria onto the females that they mate with. The bacteria inhibits the spread of the Zika virus and also sterilizes the females so that they cannot reproduce. In addition to Zika, this strategy could be used to target diseases like malaria and dengue fever. Number 6. Silk farming. Sericulture, the practice of raising silkworms, have been around for several thousand years. It began in China more than 3 millennia ago and eventually spread through Asia and into Europe. Always highly prized, silk is still a pricey textile today. Sericulture, therefore, remains a profitable endeavor, even for small-scale farmers who raise the larvae and spin the threads as a kind of cottage industry. One silk moth lays about 500 eggs during its brief adult life. After hatching, the larvae are fattened with mulberry leaves. Eventually, they spin cocoons on twigs provided by the farmer. When they are completed, these cocoons are soaked in hot water to loosen the threads, which can reach nearly 500 to 1,000 yards from a single cocoon when unraveled. This raw material is then spun together with others to make finished silk thread. Silk is still valued today despite the manufacturing of other synthetic and semi-synthetic textiles. It is true that there are many successful smaller operations in China and India where most silk is produced, but people harboring dreams of sericulture success should realize that the process of refining the silk is very labor-intensive. Number 5. Spider Goat Farm. At first sight, this farm run by Utah State University may resemble a run-of-the-mill dairy goat operation, but the milk produced by the goats at this facility contains something very special: super strong spider silk. The spider goat is purely a creation of science. Outwardly, it's no different from your typical goat. However, the spider goat does have spider DNA in it. That's right. The spider goat creates milk that contains golden orb spider silk. Golden orb spider silk is not meant for human consumption, and it is the only outwardly distinguishable trait that makes the spider goat unique. Scientists refine the spider goat's milk, and then the extracted silk is used to make highly resistant products, such as fishing line wire, body armor, surgical sutures, and parachutes. Number 4. Tiger Farms. Inside a small metal cell, a tiger lies nearly motionless on a filthy concrete floor. Another cat paces back and forth past her, covering each end of the space with an obsessive focus. There's nothing to climb and no room to run, so it's all the animals can do to make the time pass by. The light has all but left their eyes. They don't know it yet, but their days are numbered. Soon they'll be killed to become a decorative rug or someone's dinner. Across Asia, this is the sinister reality for thousands of tigers kept in what appears on the outside to be zoos. They're actually farms, where tigers are bred and kept in small cages until they're slaughtered. Their bones are boiled and turned into tiger wine, their stunning furs turned into pelts or stretched into roaring stuffed tigers, and their flesh sautéed and served up at restaurants. It's an industry that has seen a booming demand in the past decade in countries like China, Vietnam, Thailand, and Laos, where these luxury goods are produced and sold to buyers. It's turned endangered animals into a commodity, and it is part of the reason why there are no more tigers in captivity than the meager 3,900 left in the wild worldwide. Inside the farms themselves, the facilities look like traditional, cramped factory farms. Rows upon rows of small pens house up to 3 tigers each and provide no enrichment. The tigers are killed at 2 or 3 years of age, once they reach full-grown weight. The animals live on the farms from the moment they're born to when they're slaughtered and despondent. Cubs are removed from their mother after a few days old and hand-reared. This way, the mother tiger can be introduced to another male so that she can produce more cubs. Some of these facilities, particularly in Thailand, offer up-close and personal interactions with the cubs and adult tigers, who are often drugged with the promise that the funds support tiger conservation. Unsuspecting tourists who seek out tiger selfies are very likely supporting tiger slaughter in the process. This issue took center stage 2 years ago when investigators raided the infamous Tiger Temple, acclaimed wildlife sanctuary and popular tourist spot in Thailand that was accused of secretly farming its tigers for sale on the black market. Officials discovered the bodies of 40 tiger cubs inside freezers on the property, in addition to several tiger skins and fangs and amulets made from tiger parts. Clearly, an explosion in the number of captive tigers has done nothing to stop the killing of wild tigers. Instead, the tiger farming industry has sustained and stimulated demand for tiger parts, driving devastating poaching of wild tigers as preferred among consumers of bone and hastening their march to extinction. Number 3. Pearl farms. Though oysters are highly prized as a seafood, the gemstones that they produce are even more valuable. In past eras, divers had to collect wild oysters and pry them open, hoping to find natural pearls inside. Pearl hunting was lucrative, but also very dangerous and tedious. Divers would often have to collect a huge number of oysters before finding a pearl. The industry now relies mainly on cultured pearls. Pearl farms, both saltwater and freshwater, operate in natural bodies of water. The oysters are kept on strings or in baskets. Before they are placed, a trained technician performs an operation that grafts part of the oyster's mantle onto a section known as the pearl pocket. For saltwater pearls, a bead of mother-of-pearl is also implanted. One of the biggest expenses of pearl farming is hiring someone with the skill to perform this surgery successfully on each oyster. Freshwater pearls generally grow faster, and the oysters can have more than one graft at a time. More valuable saltwater pearls take several years to form, making them a more profitable but riskier investment. Number 2. Seaweed farming. Seaweed has become a valuable commodity. Farming it has long been a lucrative undertaking in places like Japan, China, and Indonesia. However, the use of species like kelp and other products, such as cosmetics and medication, and growing interest in seaweed as a healthy food have led to a farming boom. In places where pollution, climate change, and overfishing have hurt commercial fishing operations, seaweed cultivation is a welcome alternative that allows people to keep making their living from the ocean. The underwater plants are relatively easy to grow if the right species is matched with the right conditions. Neither feed or fertilizer is required. Because of this all-natural growth, seaweed can be a supplement to other types of aquaculture, such as shellfish or shrimp farming. Such experts are concerned about the seaweed boom changing conditions in vulnerable coastal ecosystems, but others welcome the trend as a less invasive way of making money from the oceans. Number 1. Snake farm. This sleepy village, nestled in the heart of a vast farmland in China's eastern Zhejiang province, hides a deadly secret. A step into the homes of any of the farming families here brings visitors eye to eye with thousands of some of the world's most feared creatures, snakes, many of them poisonous. Cobras, vipers, and pythons are everywhere in Sissaquoyo, aptly known as the Snake Village, where the reptiles are deliberately raised for use as food and in traditional medicine, bringing in millions of dollars to a village that otherwise would rely solely on farming. In 1985, 60-year-old farmer Yang Hongcheng started selling snakes he caught around the area to animal vendors. He soon began to worry that the wild snakes would run out, and thus began researching on how to breed snakes at home. Within 3 years, he had made a fortune, and many other villagers decided to emulate his success. Today, more than 3 million snakes are bred in the village every year by the 160 farming families. Snakes are renowned for their medicinal properties in traditional Chinese medicine and are commonly drunk as a soup or wine to boost the person's immunity. With rising demand for snake products from restaurants and medicine halls, due both to rising wealth and a government push for breeding the animals to be used in traditional medicine, Sissaqueo villagers are now boasting an annual income of hundreds of thousands of yuan per year. In the western provinces in Vietnam, thousands of snakes are also bred by local snake farmers.